So, welcome to this new video. We have some interesting price action, so let's go over it. First of all, we had that downtrend where we had this range low, range high, and then a lot of chop. I don't have to remind you again. We had 2 weeks of price action in the upper part of the range, and then we saw like the Monday open, the new trading week, we directly pushed lower, gave a lower high, sold off. Came into the discounted section of the range where we are now building some value, but the lower part is still untested. So what we're gonna do now is pretty important because from a value area perspective, we lost the range, retested it, lost it again, and are now retesting it again. So until we reclaim this, the chances that we gonna revisit lower levels are still present and still relatively high. However, as I said multiple times, your structure is always king. So you want to see your structure. And that was why I, like yesterday in the video, I was not bullish yet. But in trading, everything can change because we made a new low and therefore had new market structure to work with. So I'm actually in a long right now. But let's first look at the 4-hour structure, for example, because we can say we have main structure here, down, then here, lower high, lower low. And you can say this is your important high. We can also just take the last high right here in the local range from this pool and say lower low, lower high, lower low. So this is our most important 4-hour market structure high. 4-hour market structure. And then we can also zoom in. Like yesterday we did not had this, let me show you here, this price action yet. It was before I made a video around here, I think. Then I said we had some important levels above because we had supply right there. And at this point, our structure was just the bearish one with the lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So at this point, there was no structure until we would reclaim back above this supply and market structure level. However, during New York and also during a strong hour, which is hour 14, which is a strong hour to put in a New York session low, price gave a SFP. Like, oh, that's liquidity. I want the SFP. And at that point, if we look at the hourly structure, we have high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Here we have two candles going higher than each other. So that is our valid pullback. Lower high, lower low, right here. However, how does price close? Price closes as an SFP, which means we have a wick below it, but the body candle closes above, which means that the downtrend fails, or at least this lower high. The purpose of that lower high is to put in a new lower low to continue the downtrend. However, here we can see that price failed to put in a lower low because buyers stepped in and we wicked below the level. Wicking a level means that the high that brought you into that level, which on the hourly structure was the this lower low, lower high, lower low. So the high that brought you into that low, which is this low right here, is then your weak targeted level, which means that according to market structure rules, it is likely for price to revisit this high because we failed to break below this low. SFP, other side becomes a weak targeted level. So at that point, we know that's our weak targeted level, and it is also our hourly market structure level. So very interesting level. And then if we zoom in some more, the reason why I took the long is because we are trending down. So you can pull your range from low to high right here. Say that, let's say this is still our market structure level. Range low, range high, deviation below. Let's show it with the deviation threshold. Deviation below, but we close back in the range. So it is a very narrow tap, but basically it is about the essence. I know people are gonna say, oh, it's not valid. To me, it's valid, and that's the only thing that matters. So at this point, it is a 1, range low, range high, mid-range. Tap 2, price comes back in the range. And then this is tap 3. 1, 2, 3, Wyckoff Model 1 accumulation. When do you confirm it if you break your internal structure back to bullish? So at this point, we also know that this was our 1 hour market structure. However, we can look at internal structure as well, which is from this high. What is the structure to the lows? We have high to make a new low right here. Yes. Then we have 2 candles going higher, then we have the low. So our internal structure at this point is right here. Bullish bus. So when we broke that and we put in that strong New York low, I was very interested in longs, but I was a bit late behind the screen. But I had on my phone, I saw that we had this volume profile. I really like volume profiles. And I need to do it like here. Then I saw price selling off, and here little sneak peek. Vector candles, high volume selling candles into lows, into the third tap of a Wyckoff, then being recovered by the buyers is a strong signal to me that people started shorting the lows, recovering, aka market maker stepping in to defend the bottom, which is in line with the Wyckoff accumulation. So here we broke internal structure back to bullish. Then we also had VWAP confluence. Here we flipped the point of control of this local range and the value area high, came above, retested the value area high and the VWAP, and around there I entered. I don't have the... So you would say, oh, that's a high entry. It was also not the best entry because it was around, I believe around here. My stop was below the low. And then it's like, yeah, that's not the best RR. But if you see the potential, if we move higher right now, this was, for example, already at 3.3 R. But normally you would like to enter even in a local range in the discounted section of the range, which technically was valid at the point that you broke above here. So then you could say this is your setup. However, because I knew it's Tuesday, so we can also potentially still put in our weekly low on Tuesday, and we had high confluences here. I was taking the long right there. And I've already took out like 70% around here, but I'm looking to reinvest that. I can show you my position. Where was it? Normally I don't share my position. Either you believe me or you don't believe me. I don't care. And I'm not babysitting positions because I also like to scalp more. So like here. So this was my entry around, oh, I've put it out. Entry right there. In the middle of the night I woke up. I had a feeling I need to check. So I saw that strong push there. I sold 70%. And right now price is yeah, going back to that level. So took out a lot there. I hoped to see some structure here, a little lower to get that low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, break of structure, and then get into a long. But we still can get that because we have some demand left behind here. But first let's go further into what happened with that local price action. Put off the VWAP again. So price broke above, also broke above the range deviation threshold, which means that this was an accumulation range. We broke above it, retest, continuation. So then overnight we had like a local 1, 2, 3 local distribution into this supply POI, which was also our hourly structure level. This gave a little rejection. However, here price began to accumulate. Our ugly accumulation, because we have 3 higher lows. You would like to see a sweep of them, but yeah, the market not always does what you want. And there we got the aggressive expansion higher. turning this supply into a flip zone, because the purpose of supply right here, because we are in that downtrend, purpose of super clean supply like this is that if you come into it, that you get a strong sell-off towards new lows. If it fails to do that, so here you only get the reaction to here, and then you confidently break it, then you can say it's like a flip zone. And then often the supply turned into support. And that's also what we can see what happened for now, because price pushed above, came back from here with a local downtrend, came back into that same flip zone, and is now trying to break structure back to bullish, which is internally if we break above here. So then we can look, do we have, it's 15 minutes. Yeah, so internally we are breaking structure back to bullish again, right here. So nice flip zone, and next major POI to watch is that 4-hour market structure high. There it will be important how price will react. For now this is bullish. Also, if we look locally, you can say that we broke structure back to bullish right here, so that this zone right here is now range, local range demand. And then you can refine it more to the lower parts, but basically if we push above, then now I'm interested in potential longs here if we get structure into it, and then look for moves back to the high and the 4-hour market structure high. But for now, I'm comfy in my position, still 30% long, 70% out at the highs. So let's see what New York has to bring. Beside that, what are our levels? Yeah, so if we just purely again look at market structure, this is the 4-hour market structure level to watch. So then you want to watch on the 4-hour. Do you get candle closes above, or do you wick the level? That will be important to watch. And for now, from the low up, our local main bullish structure is this: higher high, higher low, higher high. So basically this whole zone from this low, or like this low to this high, you can expect a higher low for a higher high until proven otherwise. So locally bullish here. I would have hoped for some local structure here to get an entry, but right now it can still happen that we do something like this, or maybe even deeper, sweep those lows and then get a rejection. Right now not too interesting with price action. Here we left behind some untested demand, which is still something I'm monitoring for fresh positions. And basically, yeah, because your last push here is so aggressive and there's no structure in that move, you don't have structure to break to bearish. So then anything in here is likely a higher low or a higher high with major POI, the 4-hour market structure. Then quickly, so yeah, for the Discord server, it's gonna launch next week. I'm recording a lot of market structure videos. It's already 2.5 hours where I explain everything about market structure so you all can understand it. And yeah, a lot more will follow, but it's for later. Right now, I want to quickly look at the statistics. Okay, so I need to log in, so that's not I can show you this, where we have like, we are above the weekly VWAP. We have some single prints below us and above us. So my main POIs here are that VWAP and FEGs below us, which align with like this zone. So if we move into there, then I'm interested in potential fresh longs. And then the higher part is that point of control, poor high, and that single prints from that weekly open dump, which is basically this zone. So that are the kind of weekly POI levels I have. And then locally, I'm just watching the structure right here. And then we can also potentially say, like, we can see this as a new potential local range with local range high, local range low. So maybe you can here come up to the high, then look for potential distributions, or you come back to the lows and then sweep the lows into that demand and fair value gap fill, break structure, and then you can look for longs back up to those highs if you're not positioned yet. So yeah, I think pretty clean plans for now. Last thing I want to look at is from this low, the volume to that high. Yeah, then we came nearby the value area high retest right here, but we front ran it. So we still have the value area high, and the POC of this local range before we pushed up is still untested. So a lot of times price wants to retest that right here and then move higher. So that's why this is pretty clean POI, because we have volume profile, we have demand, we have those single prints, and it is the market structure bull, because here bulls will defend this, because if we break structure back to bearish, that's a very weak sign. So let's clean up. I'll do that later. Let's put an alert above the local range highs, an alert here if we break internal structure, and an alert at that demand little higher, and then just wait for some new price action. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.